Jeff, thanks a lot for joining us. And maybe a lot of people don't realize that the county manager, Don Burnett, has 3 assistant county managers. What is your job? What are your responsibilities?
I have what we jokingly refer to as courts and kids. My departments either deal with the courts directly as the district court and the justice courts. We have 80 elected judges, and I sort of act as the liaison between the courts and the rest of the county. Have the public defender's office and 130 lawyers there, and the various other legal offices. Then I have the kids. I have 2 major departments in the county. I have the Department of Family Services. We have about 750 employees over there. And then I have the Department of Juvenile Justice, which we have another maybe 400 employees at. So 2 very important regional services that the county provides.
Sure, and obviously your training as an attorney suits you well to do these things. And let's talk about especially those ones with the kids, which I know, Jeff, you're very passionate about. Juvenile Justice Services, John Jack Martin and his staff does an amazing job over there. Something the Juvenile Detention Alternative Initiatives, something that Clark County has been working on and trying to find novel approaches to helping these kids, right?
Yeah, JDAI, which is exactly as you said, is a program that was sponsored initially by the Casey Foundation, and in fact the county got a grant for it about 5-6 years ago to start going into that program. And the simple concept is, can we keep the community safe, can we keep the kids safe, and at the same time reduce the length of stay that they may have in juvenile detention, or not put them in at all, reduce the number that go, and reduce the length of stay. Over the last 5 years, we have probably reduced by at least 25% the population, the daily population, by even more than that, the length of stay that they are in, and probably by close to 60% we've reduced the number of kids that we have sent off to the state, either Caliente or Elko, the state juvenile prisons, if you will, finding it's not necessary to do that, and we're still able to show very good recidivism rates, and the fact that the same group of kids are being able to be rehabilitated back into society without committing additional crimes.
I know something is a forestry program. So again, we're not just taking these kids, locking them up, and telling them to get better. There are programs such as a forestry program. Talk a little bit about that.
The forestry program is actually one of my favorite. Interestingly enough, it says forestry in it. It's with the U.S. Forest Department. It is the longest running program in the entire United States between a government entity and the forestry program. It's for our kids that we send up to Spring Mountain Youth Camp. And so when kids enter our system, the worst of the worst will get sent off to the state. You'll have another group that really are not bad kids at all. They just went astray a little bit, and they just need a good role model, father figure, family intervention, learn how to think a little bit for themselves. We send them up to 6 months up at the Spring Mountain Youth Camp. There's usually up to 100 young men up there at a time, between 14 and 17. And during the school year, it's a fully accredited Clark County School District. The teachers are up there. We participate in the athletics. So we have a football team and a basketball team, and we do all of those things. In the summer, however, we have to have something for the kids to do. And it's very competitive. Not all the kids get to do it. They apply for it and get selected, and they join our forestry program. And they literally go out and work on the dozens of miles of trails out there, rehabilitating all the trails up on Mount Charleston and Robber's Roost Trail and all the other different things that folks have hiked on. They clean the trails. They get rid of the washouts where they put up the boards to contain the side of the trails. They build the little footbridge things. They do all that. It's, in some cases, the first time any of these kids have actually gotten out, done some physical labor, and can see a finished product afterwards that they've actually achieved. And then at the end of the summer, we actually have a graduation, if you will. And some of the parents of these kids come up there to the camp, and they do it at one of the picnic grounds up there, and you do it. And we call up the kids, and we have somebody who's like the valedictorian, and people who are the team leaders and all that. And you can see in the eyes of some of these parents that this is the first time they've been seeing their child rewarded for achieving something positive. And it's just a very emotional experience. It's really quite good. And it's a great program.
Fantastic. Continued success up there. Obviously, Department of Family Services, foster parents are something that we always talk about, and that's something that is always needed in our community, right, Jeff?
We are constantly recruiting for new foster parents. We've started an initiative called the Quality Parenting Initiative, or QPI for short. It's something we truly are inspired behind. We're trying to get not only quality adoption resources, people who want to be foster parents because they hope to be adoptive parents, but we're looking for a solid core of good parents who really want to be just foster parents. They want to take kids who have been in harm's way, help them overcome that problem, but work with their natural family to help in that reunification efforts and get them back home later. And we probably have 1,200 foster homes at the moment. It sounds like a lot, but probably 350 or so of those are really relative placements. It'll be grandparents, uncles, aunts, those sort of things. So they're only dealing with one family. And so then you take away the treatment centers and those, we'll probably only have 650 or so actual foster homes of true foster parents. We could double that to help meet the need. On any given night, we have 4,200 kids out there. And so with that many kids that we are responsible for, we need good placement options. And seriously, anybody listening to this, if they even have a remote interest, we have training programs. There's courses both during the day and at night to meet people's individual schedules. They can come in, they can go through it a little bit and see if they're interested, see if they want to follow through with it, and they're fully trained and then compensated afterwards. And so if anybody's interested, we'd really like some more.
Who would be an ideal candidate to foster? Anyone could do this, basically?
Practically anybody can do it. But the only real requirement is you got to be 10 years older than the person that we're sending in to the home. I mean, sure. Other than, and you have to be able to pass a background check and those kind of standard things. But we do partnerships with various churches in the community, because lots of times the active members in different churches become good foster parents. But it's not a religious-based thing. That's just one of our partnerships. We do it with people who start off being CASA volunteers, and they get into it and they like it so much they want to go to the next step and do it. We've had times where people have gotten relative placements. That child has then ultimately gone back to their home, but they liked it well enough, they liked their experience with the department well enough, they came in and they volunteered to be foster parents themselves and for other kids. And so lots of places that we get them from, but we're always looking for more.
Jeff, talking about kids, either through Family Services or JJS, it's obviously one of the most awesome responsibilities that Clark County has. And you said the number's 4,200 kids in Family Services any given day, and another 3,000 in JJS. Now, it must be frustrating to you sometimes that the mainstream media just picks up on some of the negative stories here when we're doing a terrific job every day with some 7,000 kids, taking good care of them.
You know, if you're in a school, go to college, high school, whatever, if you get a 99% out of 100% on a test right, everybody'd say you got an A, maybe even an A+. But with 4,200 kids in in Family Services, if on a given night 1% didn't have a perfect result, that's still 42 kids any night where we might have a situation. You know, we're dealing, no matter how much we train the parents, and when we put the kids back in there as a trial period for the reunification, good people can still make mistakes. And occasionally some of these parents will make a mistake. And then the next thing I see is some of the mainstream media vilifying the caseworker, the department, going out and saying, how could you possibly have made such a terrible mistake of returning that child to that home, and now they've got 2 broken legs or whatever. And the point is, on any given night, we would have the opportunity to have something like that happen 4,200 times, and it doesn't. And the reason why it hits the news is it happens every once in a while, And it's just troubling to me sometimes that the image is cast that the department and the employees are just all terrible and incompetent, when the exact opposite is the truth. We have truly dedicated employees who go out of their way to do a good job for the best interest of those children and those families. And we get it right almost all the time. And if there's a mistake, I really wish the mainstream media would look sometimes to see if it was just a good person who just had a bad mistake.
Gotcha. And finally, Jeff, maybe a lot of people don't know that you were an elected official yourself, some 16 years as a state senator in Colorado. How did that help, how previous lifetime as an elected official, how is that helping you in your post now as an assistant county manager?
Yeah, I was privileged to serve in the Colorado State Senate for 16 years, and Colorado has sessions every year, so that was 16 sessions, which would be a lot, in this state. I think it's helped me a lot. It helps me understand some of the motivations of our 7 elected county commissioners. It's made my conversations with our assemblymen and our state senators when they're dealing with our family service issues or our juvenile justice issues so much easier to go with, because I can say, guys, I've been there, I've done that, I understand. And you have an instant rapport with some of those, with the Nevada legislature, that I might not have otherwise, and it just opens the door for the communication. Doesn't mean they're going to do what I want every time, and clearly they don't, but it does mean that they'll listen and they'll talk to us, and I have found that to be very helpful to us.